Welcome to the 6th episode of our weekly feature from Tees Life, Boro Backtrack, as always in association with Domino's Teesside. Before I introduce this week's three guests, we all know football and pizza are two of the best things in life. We're grateful to the support of Domino's Teesside for helping bring those two together with their support of Boro Backtrack. This week's guests are three shining lights from Boro's famed youth academy. And all three went on to not only play for the Boro first team, but to play a big part alongside an all-star cast in the Premier League and the UEFA Cup, as we'll soon hear. So first guest, a former youth team captain and centre-half who also played at right-back in some big European nights for his local club. Welcome, Andrew Davies.
Hi there, everybody.
Andrew, as you can see, Dabber live from his car. This is a first for Tees Life, definitely. We haven't done any interviews so far from Kia Sportages.
Yeah, there you go. You just want to interview me first so you can get me off. I know what you're doing.
Next, our next guest, we have Dabber's successor as Boro youth team captain, FA Youth Cup winner who went on to play well over 100 games for Boro after making his first team debut at Old Trafford. Tony McMahon, welcome, Macca.
Hey everyone.
Macca's going to have a big reveal. He's got a curtain there behind him. He's going to surprise us all with what he's got hiding behind there later. So do hold on for that one. And last but not least, the biggest success definitely of all Boro's academy products. More than 400 games for his home-time club, plus the small matter of 35 England caps. Welcome to Stewart Downing. Stewart.
Evening lads. All right.
Thanks for joining us. So, on with our questions tonight. So, I want to ask all of you about your background and your Boro time. You all came through at an incredible time for the academy when we had James Morrison, Lee Cattermole, Adam Johnson, Andrew Taylor, Ross Turnbull, Brad Jones, David Wheater, Matthew Bates. I could go on and on. What did it mean to play for your local club alongside your mates and actually not to come right through the ranks and then play in the first team? Start with you, Stuart. I know you were slightly older than most of them, but you came through with Brad, and I think who else was your age that came through at that age? Luke Wiltshire was a little bit older than you, was he?
Yeah, in my age group it was me and David Murphy, but obviously Dabber played a year above into our team, and me and him probably came through at the same time together. We travelled a lot, obviously roomed together for many years, which I'll keep that to a minimum. But obviously we're very close, and we like you say, I know I was a year older than Dabber, but we sort of played like the same level all the way through because he played a year above. So, but yeah, it was probably me, him, David Murphy around about that time getting in. Luke Wiltshire who just got in probably about a year before. He was maybe I think he was about 2 years older than me, if I'm right. So yeah, it was like I say, good times. It showed that when Luke got a chance that our eyes lit up a little bit and thinking we could get in here. And like I say, Steve McCann made a lot of changes, changed the squad around, and me and Dad will probably tell you that we probably travelled for about a season without playing. We just travelled for experience and got on the bench a couple of times, and then we left out the squad, but it was unbelievable time, really. What
did it mean to actually play for the first team when it ended up whereby you were probably 19, 20? You were you had all these 17-year-olds that were coming through it and getting a chance as well. I mean, there must have been great banter in the dressing rooms at that time. You couldn't fit. The squad was so big. I remember that some of the lads were still in the youth dressing room at the time they were in the first team.
Yeah, it was crazy, really. I mean, it just happened so quickly. I think one time you were looking, thinking it might be hard to get in. There was loads of players reserves, back end of Brian Robson's here, and then all of a sudden there was a massive overhaul of players out and players in. Young players got promoted. David got moved up to the reserve first team dead quick. Murph. We'd gone from youth team basically jumping reserves a little bit into the first team, which was great for us. But and like you say, when Macca's group come through, he'd probably tell you he's gone from youth team, chucked straight into the first team to start because we had injuries, suspensions, but that's what you needed. I got into the team through Mendy probably getting injured. You need that little bit of luck as well. Obviously you need a manager to trust you to put you in. And sometimes I think what helped us is just getting chucked in. Like you say, Mac will probably look back at him and Moz at Old Trafford away on your debut against Rooney. I think that was Rooney's first week at the club, I remember. He scored a hat-trick about 3 days before against Fenerbahce. It was Van Nistelrooy, proper players, Keane scores, Giggs, Ronaldo, and you're thinking, geez, we could get eaten alive here. And to be fair, we were a better team, and they scored 89 minutes equaliser. And I think from then on, I think Steve McMahon thought, these lads are good enough. That was a massive test for us. Looking back, it was like you say, sink or swim, really, wasn't it?
Dava, you came through just short of Stewie, didn't you? And you got your big chance. I seem to remember we got hammered on your debut.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we played Ipswich, and if I remember rightly, Stu, wasn't that who you made your debut against?
Yeah, Ipswich away. Yeah,
Ipswich away. Yeah, we got pumped, but it was obviously a great experience. I always looked up to Stewart. You see, I mean, he made his debut before me, and I think it was Merckx who made his debut before him. And to see them two doing it in the first team the way they did, I think that was one of my biggest motivations, because I just felt like, well, if they can do it, why can't I? And like you say, some great times coming through, and I'll never forget them times. They were fantastic.
I'm with you, mates. That there was other lads getting a chance. It wasn't just you, was it? It was there must have been like, this is awesome. You must have thought that this is what it's always like.
I know, yeah, it was. It was crazy. I mean, like Stewart said, we went from youth team football to reserve team, where you're playing after, I can't remember who my debut was in the reserves. I think it was Aston Villa away, when you've got like David Ginola playing, and it was a real quick turnaround. And I'll never forget Steve Brown saying, like, you're going to be fast-tracked very quick, same as Stewart and David, because we believe in you. And I think just hearing them words from a coach like him, who I ultimately thought was one of the best coaches that I worked with, I think that just gives you the confidence to basically you've got to take your chance, and that's what I felt like we did when we were young. We played a lot of games for Middlesbrough, and like Stewart says, a very hard time. I was battling with Danny Mills, Michael Reisinger, Luke Young. And then you go to centre half, and you've got Eggeog, Southgate, and the names went on, and you did need an injury to get in, but when you got in, you had to take a chance.
What about yourself, Macca? I mean, Stewie's already mentioned there your debut. Wasn't a bad place to make your debut at Old Trafford.
Yeah, obviously it was a special day for everyone. All my family were there. It was brilliant, and something now that you've retired, you look back on. Like Stewie spoke about going along with Dava and being a roommate and making the debuts together. I made my debut with James Morrison, same day, same Premier League debut. He played the week before in Europe, and then that Saturday we both got our Premier League debut, which was unbelievable to play just behind my mate, who now I'm best mates with. And like I say, we came through all the way together through the youth team. And going back to the youth team, I think the youth team we had was quite unique. We all wanted everyone to do well. Most of us, 95% of us got in the first team, but we got in the first team because we all helped each other. There was no jealousy when someone went up. We were happy for someone when they went up to the first team, but ultimately we pushed the next one, and everyone kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think that's why so many of us ended up in the first team at the time that we did.
It was actually, I've looked at other Youth Cup finals and who played, and you always recognise a few famous names that were playing in the Youth Cup final when they were 17-year-old. But I don't think I've ever seen one where practically everybody that plays in the Youth Cup final goes on to play first team football for that club. Usually you get three, maybe. Incredible.
Yeah, it was unbelievable time. But remember the year before when we lost in the final. We still had practically the same team the following year. Obviously, we lost Davo, we lost Ross, we lost a few older lads.
You got a bit stronger because you'd lost Davo, yeah.
No, but we had this belief that we were going to win it before the competition even started, and the togetherness that we had. You said, like, you go and you're playing with your mates. Like, there was a squad of 20 of us, and we were all like really, really close. There was no bitterness. There was no jealousy. Like what it's like some youth teams. There's a bit of a divide in them. Where ours, there wasn't. There was no divide whatsoever, and we all helped each other get to where we wanted to be, and that was ultimately again the first team. And like I say, 95% of us done that.
So Dava, now that you've repositioned the car, I've got a question to ask you. I mean, what was it like to suddenly go into that dressing room full of, these were superstar names: Mark Viduka, Mendieta, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink. Gareth Southgate, Juninho, they were all there at that time. What was it like for a young lad to suddenly go into playing alongside those?
If I'm being honest, I was very nervous when you go into. I mean, we obviously trained with him before, you see, so it wasn't like we hadn't been there with him before and stuff like that. But I mean, before my debut, I was very nervous. I've got to be honest. Whether that was, I mean, I played Aston Villa at home in my Premier League debut, and even that was a nervous time. But to be around these players, they help you so much, you know. I mean, Gareth Southgate was a massive idol for me. To play with him, just to be alongside someone like that, give you so much confidence. But you just felt proud. I mean, you look back now, and I was 17-year-old, and I remember beating myself up after the game, thinking how bad I was. And you look back now and you think, why was I like that at such a young age? You know, you should have been saying you learn from mistakes and stuff. But I was so hard on myself when I was a player. And now when I look back, a 17-year-old kid make me debut in a Premier League. You look now, and if people don't do that nowadays. So yeah, great times though. It was good.
What about yourself? I mean, you know, I know you ended up doing very, very well, but initially you were in and out of the team, and you must have been. Did you really look up to those players? Which of those did you think, wow, can't believe I'm playing alongside him?
Yeah, like David said, I think the biggest, probably the best thing was that they were all very helpful. They weren't. Yes, Gareth was a massive player, England international captain of England, but you wouldn't have thought that the way he was. He had time for everyone, spoke to the lads, and you know that's why I think I don't know if the lads are the same. When you go in the dressing room now, like I'm at Blackburn as an older player, you try to help the young players because you go in some dressing rooms and you don't get any help at all, and some lads, you know, it might find it hard and they don't come out the shell a bit, and it can affect them. But I think, you know, we had certainly very good pros around us. I think it helped that we travelled as well, like in and around the team for, like me and David, like I said, for a season or so. So you got used to the surroundings. So, like we said, we weren't chucked in, but they were all good pros, all good lads, all very helpful, like you say. And I think it made the transition easy. Do you know what I mean? It's so. And then when we did, you know, get out there, yes, it was nerve wracking and daunting because now it's your test, you're in there. But I think the way we were eased in probably helped.
Marco, what about yourself? Oh, we've lost Dava for a second. Let's hope he comes back to us. But he'll be back in another place in his car somewhere. Marco, what about yourself? I mean, who did you who did you look up to, or was there anyone in particular like a Gareth that sort of looked after you when you were, you know, and knew that what you were going through?
Yeah, I think most of the lads have mentioned Gareth. Big Hugo as well was brilliant with me. God bless him. They just all had the time of day for you. They would help you. They've all been through what we were just about to go through. But like Stewie said, the manager should take some credit because I was the same with me and Mozza. Stewie and Davis said they travelled. Me and Mozza travelled for practically a full season and didn't get stripped once. We were like 19th and 20th man, left out every week, just were there to get the kit, just there to help out. And I think that, looking back now, that was massive. That was massive for that transition of them moving into that dressing room. So you weren't just going in straight in, not knowing what was going to happen. You got to know all the pros. You got to know what you could and what you couldn't say. And ultimately, the respect was there because they were, like I said, they were superstars. Looking back now, there's some unbelievable names that's been in that Middlesbrough dressing room over the years. But some names that you can call upon and that they would help you through anything. Even now, you could still pick up the phone to probably all of them and they would help you if you needed any help.
Not bad names to have on your little black book to help you find a new player or whatever when you're into your coaching career.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You just call upon them players. Like I said the example earlier about speaking to Bolo Zenden about somebody, and he was there straight away and he was on the other end of the phone, and I probably hadn't spoke to Bolo for probably about 3 or 4 years before that. So, but he's there and he's helpful and he's asking how I'm doing, how I'm getting on, and anything I need, just give him a call. And just little things like that go a long way because obviously, like I said, there's been years past where we haven't spoke a word, but he's still there to help out.
What was your memories, Macca, of the UEFA Cup days? Because I mean, I think I'm right in saying you played against Gallio and Villarreal, and did you play Lazio as well? The Lazio game, Sporting.
Yeah, the Lazio one is the one that really sticks out. That was probably the best atmosphere I've ever played in at the Riverside. It was an unbelievable night. It was ram-packed, and I remember we played ever so well and got an unbelievable result, and the whole feel around the place at the time when we had them big European nights was something special. And like I say, now you're retired and you're looking back, and what you did achieve, it was huge. And you look where the club is now, and them times look quite a long way off at the minute. But like I say, we can look back with fond memories.
Well, it's all Stewart memories of Europe, and I mean, we had some team there who actually. Yeah. We had a good run the first year, didn't we? And then I think we almost ran out of players at the end against Sporting. And then the next year we strengthened, and I think there was a real belief that we wanted to have a go all the way through, wasn't there?
I think obviously Sporting had some very good players. I think we obviously tried to sign 2, didn't we? Was it Douala and
Rockenbach we signed?
Yeah, Rockenbach, sorry, and Douala the forward, who was very, very quick. So it just showed how good they were. But I think for how well we did in the first season, probably give us confidence going into that second season. And then with the signings we brought in, like I say, we had the big players who played on European stage, Jimmy and Badukes and all these people. And so it probably give us confidence to go and think, we can go and win. We went to Lazio, like you say, at home. I think we were not cocky, but we were very, very confident of beating anyone. I think we just had that attitude of whoever comes here, we'll beat them. It was the same with the Premier League. All the top boys come, and we generally done very well against it. It was more so-called lesser teams that we didn't get the results. Roma away, yes, we lost, but we beat them at home, but we gave them a good run. Stuttgart away, all unbelievable results. And but that was the attitude of the squad at the time. Like I say, we had big players for big occasions, and all those young lads who were just playing with no fear and just getting unbelievable results, to be honest.
I have to forgive my cuckoo clock going off here. My wife's cuckoo clock goes off on the hour every hour. And Dava has sent his apologies. He's given up on his signal in his car there. He's driven round and round his house for the last half hour trying to get a signal. He's finally given up.
How big's his house?
Well, I don't know. He was driving round it, wasn't he? He didn't feel the need. Right. So, I mean, what about those players? I mean, which of those players really stand out to you when you think back just out? I mean, Mark Viduka, what a player he was, and how lucky were Middlesbrough to have him at his. He was still at his peak, wasn't he?
There was loads of top.
Oh, it's unbelievable. If you kept him fit, and there's no disrespect to Middlesbrough, we were lucky to have him, to be honest. His ability should have been. I remember at the time, I think he said Man United wanted him, Liverpool wanted him, but he's so laid back. Mac will tell you. Yeah. But on his day, especially them European nights on the run we had, he was unplayable. I remember even Woody said to me, like, if he gets his back to play against you, he's the hardest centre forward to play against because you can't get round him to get it off him. He's very strong, but he's also very skillful for a big fella. So it was literally just give him the ball and let him do something. Especially the Bucharest games, it was just get the ball in the box. Even I think I remember one when I crossed, he got the head over the keeper. That was not a hopeful ball, but into an area thinking he'll just get on the end of it. He was unplayable for at least 6 months of that season. And but like I say, he was a very laid-back character. You didn't probably know what you're going to get out of him. I said he was one of the best players I ever played with.
He seemed to have a switch, and sometimes he just didn't seem to be too bothered, and other times he was just totally up for it.
Mac will tell you,
that was him. Yeah, that was him all over.
He was a lovely fella. I mean, unbelievable, lovely lad. But he probably didn't know what time it was on a Saturday when we were kicking off, who we were playing. I loved him. I thought he was great. His character, his temperament, that was brilliant. And like I say, you can learn a lot of him. And I just thought if he was on it every week and kept him fit, I think that was a big thing. He would have played for Man United all day long.
So, go on, Mac. What were you going to say about Dukes?
I just said what Stewie said about him as a character. He was just so laid back. It was unbelievable. Like you say, football was too easy for him. He just used to turn up, and you go out at 20 past 2, and it's 10 past 2. He'd still have all his tracksuit, his suit on, and then he'd get his gear on, get his ties, boots up, and he'd go out and he'd be the best player. And it'd just be like, wow, we'd be doing routine after routine after routine, and he'd just be like sat there, like just waiting to go out. And he'd just go out and he'd just turn it on. You'd be like, wow, what?
Do you remember when Villa beat us 4-0 at home? Remember that game? McLaren got the season ticket thing.
Yeah.
I remember sat next to him at the end of the game and I'm devastated thinking, I've got beaten. And Dukes is there.
He was singing.
Yeah, he was singing. He was like, well, always look on the bright side of life, lads.
That was it.
Always next week. And I'm thinking, surely, does he know we've just been beat 4-0 here? Like, but then the next week, not only next week, the next few months, we went on an unbelievable run. Like you say, he was part of it. There was no nerves in him and nothing. It was just a game of football. We'll just win the next one. And he's just a mad lad like that. You know, that was his character.
Well, he was right there because I think it was was it a week or 2 weeks later that we beat Chelsea 3-0.
3-0, unbelievable.
It was something like that. Like looking back now, I wish I could have been sometimes like him. I'm sure many other players would say the same thing.
Yeah,
he just like nothing got on top of him. He didn't worry about anything, and all he did was just turned up and played football. And he played it unbelievably. And it was weird to see, because obviously us young lads were dead nervous. We had a routine, and probably Stewie still has a similar routine now from when he was a young lad a bit. And you find little things that you do. He didn't know what he was going to do. He just turned up and played. It was bizarre to watch.
You say he was laid back, but his strike partner at times couldn't have been more intense. Jimmy Floyd.
Tell us about him.
Stewie will tell you.
I seem to recall that he gave you a few words of advice once or twice on the pitch, Stewart.
Yeah, but you know what Jimmy was? I remember him pulling me about it. Everyone thought we and him hated each other, this and that. Jimmy, Mac will tell you, one of the nicest fellas I've ever met in football. He was a great lad. On the pitch, he just wanted to win. And he was just, when I was a young lad, maybe I let it affect me, thinking he didn't like me. But he used to say, listen, I need crosses in the box, I need balls in the box. And if you're the supply line, I'm going to be on you. If it's 8 good crosses, I want 10. If it's 10 and 12, that's what he's like. And you look back, he drove us on, and he made him he made you mentally stronger because you had to deal with it. And he was saying, well, if you play higher than this, you're going to get more than what I give you. Everyone's demanding, and like I said at the time, at first I thought he maybe doesn't like me as a player, but when I look older now, looking back, he was unbelievable really for help and advocate. Like Mac will tell you, he was the nicest fella off the pitch. He used to speak to me all the time, give me encouragement, trying to help me in the match. But everyone just seen Jimmy throw his hands up in the air, telling me to cross it, and thought we didn't like each other. Far from the truth.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but Mac, go after ask you about this because Steve McLaren we had on this show a few weeks ago, and he was saying, I tell you what, you haven't been a manager until you told someone like Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink they're not playing today, and the eyes that he would give you, the evil eyes.
Well, we had them
eyes. A bit scary.
Eyes when we didn't cross the ball, when we didn't pass to him. We got them eyes on a regular basis. It was like Stewie said, Jimmy was just a winner. He was out and out winner, and he just wanted to win at all costs. And he wanted to score goals. He was a goal scorer, like Stewie said. He was demanding. Like if Stewie put 8 good crosses in, like Stewie said, it wasn't good enough. He wanted 10, and he could have still scored a hat trick, but he wanted 4 goals. He was just that's the way he was as a person, as a player, and he was demanding. But he was brilliant for us. And like looking back at his autobiography, he speaks well about Stewie. He mentions me and Mozza and little things like that. At the time, like I say, you don't think about it until like stuff like this, and you have time to think back of how these fellas helped you. And like I say, he was an ultimate winner, and he was the total opposite to Mike Viduka.
Yeah, that's why
talking of superstars, the one every poll that's ever been run about the Boro in the last 20 years about Boro's best players, Boro's greatest players, there's only one player that finished top every time, Juninho. So how good was Juninho? Because, the truth is, he was probably past his best when he came back the second time and you played alongside him. He still had gave us some fabulous memories. What was Stewart Downing like?
Dave, you talk about superstars.
Yeah.
And Stewie won't like me saying it, but Stewie's a superstar. Stewie is an unbelievable footballer, and like you said you mentioned the academy. Stewie was the first one to get in the first team properly, cement his place, and everyone wanted to be the next Stewart Downing. He set the bar for everyone in the academy, on the field, off the field, and you look back over the years and you talk about big players on big nights. Stewie was one of them. you can talk about all the players that have been and gone, but what Stewie done for the football club as a local lad, as someone came through, can't speak highly enough of him, and he'll probably hate every second of that. But it's
I'll
true.
send you that money later.
It's true. And he probably doesn't get the credit he deserves because of all the other names. But Stewart Downing is a massive name, and what he's done for Middlesbrough and what he's done for himself throughout his career is a credit to him, and also a credit to the football club.
That's undoubted. I mean, clearly, Stewie, you were the local hero, and unfortunately, the local hero sometimes doesn't get the credit that he deserves. I think it's true to say,
Absolutely.
and sometimes gets more criticism than he deserves as well. So I think that's. I think most Boro fans who are watching this will endorse what Mac has just said there. What about Juninho, Stewie? What was he? What was he like? Because he wasn't a superstar personality, was he? He was just a down to earth.
Oh yeah, just down to earth lad. I think obviously the first spell, I don't know if Mac remembers, I was a ball boy type of player then when he came the first time around, and he was exciting, wasn't he? And he got the ball, he could dribble anywhere. He was fantastic balance and pace, and then when he come back the second time, obviously he broke his leg. He was a bit in and out, wasn't he? He still had the flashes of brilliance. And then the third time, obviously, I think in the pre-season game, he'd done his cruciate, didn't he? Very early on. And I remember that game, it was out in Italy in a tournament, if I'm right. And when he come back, you could see he'd lost that pace a bit, that little bit of zip he had, but he could still see a pass. He could, you never lose that quality on the ball. He was good at protecting it for the little lad, but obviously we remember Juninho as dancing past people, being around the box, clever, and I think he was finding it tough because he'd lost that yard of explosiveness that he had to get past people, and he had to rely on more clever play. And I think he found it difficult with Steve McLaren towards the end. Was he a McLaren type of player? Probably not. And like I say, he went for the two lads up front, and Jimmy, and then people and the Dukes, and he's seen his way out. But I don't know if Mac could remember him. I thought he was a lovely lad, dead quiet, good banter. He didn't take well to being left out of the team and all that. I remember that. But he just wanted to play, and I think he was a fantastic player. If you look at the overall contribution he did to Middlesbrough, you can probably see why he's number one.
Mac, you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't obviously have the chance to play with him in a proper game. I played in his testimonial, that game at the Riverside, which was top. But I just trained with him on a few occasions, well, quite a bit to be fair, and you could see like flashes of brilliance all the time. And like Stewie said, he just wanted the ball, and he was just dead quiet, just like used to come in, get on with his job, get trained, and then go. You wouldn't really hear him or see him much, and say, but what a player he was. And like I say, Stewie's hit the nail on the head. Every Middlesbrough fan will remember him as a top player.